Welcome to Excel in U. Let's work on formatting the data within our cells today. We have 4 new columns in our Excel worksheet: income, date, score, and account number. Each of these columns has data entered in a general format, meaning I just typed in the numbers that I wanted to represent. Let's start with date and look at how Excel auto-formats this information. If I enter a date in a month-day format, it will automatically format as you see here. If I use a month-day-year format, this is how Excel auto-formats that data. For score we're using as a representative of 100%, so we're going to use a decimal point. If I begin data with a decimal point, Excel will auto-format to add a 0 on the front end, so you can visually see that we are less than 1 with this data. For account numbers can start with the number 0, but if I enter 0 into Excel first, Excel removes it. Let's go through and format these cells to better match the column information. Income is currency, so let's right-click on the selected cells, go to Format Cells. Under Category, let's choose Currency. We can adjust the number of decimal places. We can have our dollar symbol automatically added. And we can select how we want negative currency to be shown. When I click OK, we have currency now represented under Income. For date, let's get all of our date information formatted in the same way. Format Cells, choose Date as a category, and you can scroll through the type of information you want to represent. I like the standard version, so I'm going to click OK. Now all of my dates are represented in the same format. Score is a representation of 100%, so let's change these decimal points to percentages. Select Format Cells, choose Percentage. Adjust the number of decimal places, and note that any number within your cells will be multiplied by 100 before the decimal point and before the percentage is placed. So all of my decimal points have now become whole numbers with percentages. If I had put 95 and then changed it to a percentage, this would have shown as 9,500%, and I would have had to re-enter the data. If I choose to change this data with any whole number, Excel will auto-format now to the design that I want. Account numbers, as you saw, can start with 0, but Excel auto-removed that 0. This one's a little bit different. Instead of formatting the cell as a number, I'm actually going to format this cell as text. By formatting the cell as text, it will now treat any information entered into the cell as exact information, meaning that if I enter in a 0, it will keep the 0. Now this is a little bit different than the text around it, so it's giving me just a little warning saying, hey, this looks a little different than the text around it. But I don't mind because I want it to represent as a 0. Next, let's talk about making our data a little bit easier to read. We're going to start by adjusting the placement of our information within our cells. We have data here on the left side that is showing on the very bottom of the column. On the right side, because of wrapped text, everything looks to be centered. This can make some cells a little bit harder to read, like you can see here on the bottom, with Jane and Mary sitting right on top of each other with no space in between. To fix this, I'm going to select the cells I want to format, come up to the top, and I have 2 sets of alignment keys. I have my standard left, center, right, just like in a word processor, but I also have bottom, middle, top. I'm going to choose middle. This brings all the data within the cells up to the middle of the cell. Now I can easily see the spacing between each of my data points within my table. For headers, I generally like to have everything centered. This makes it obvious that this is a different type of information. This is a header and not part of the data set. If I really want my headers to stand out, I'm going to use fill. This is a little bit different than a word processor. I can change the background color of any individual cell I want. So let's choose green. And then just like a word processor, I can change the font color as well. If I want to create a overarching header, or if for any other reason I need to create a larger cell than just one by itself, I can use merge and center. Once I've selected the cells or the range of cells I want to use, I'm going to come up to the top and select merge and center. Now this is one large cell that I can enter in information. Just like a word processor, I can adjust font size, font, boldness, and italices as well. Back to merge and center. I can merge and center a column, a row, and even a range of cells. If there is data represented within any given cell, when I create merge and center on that range of cells, only the top left value will be kept in my merged cell. And Excel does give a warning before merging. Only the upper left value will be kept and the rest will be discarded. It will be deleted and gone. So be mindful. If you accidentally delete information you didn't mean to, use that Control-Z to undo. With merged and centered cells, if I need to adjust the height of a row or the width of a column and it happens to intersect with that range of cells that is merged, you will notice that the merged cell will get larger in addition to that individual column or row. Let me know how you like to use formatting in your Excel worksheets for your use case. Have a great day.